A number of Iranian American organizations have reacted to Trump's Muslim travel ban by filing a lawsuit. One of those organizations is the Parse Equality Center. Joining us now is Sarvenaz Fahimi. Sarvenaz, who is also known as Nazi, is the senior director of the legal department there, and she joins us to discuss this case. First of all, Nazi, thanks for coming on the program.
Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it.
Absolutely, and thank you for filing the suit. I think it's very important. First of all, tell us a little bit on what grounds are you filing this lawsuit?
Sure. So the lawsuit has been filed on behalf of 4 organizations and certain named and John Doe type plaintiffs. And the grounds, primarily, there are several constitutional grounds, First Amendment establishment issues, Fifth Amendment due process, also incorporated within that equal protection arguments, and then there's also some statutory allegations, including like the Administrative Procedure Act and the what they call RFRA, the Religious Freedom and Restoration Act, which does not that cause of action does not apply to us as an organization. It's for the individual plaintiffs.
So, in terms of the individual plaintiffs, the argument would be, just so that I understand. See, what I'm trying to do.
Yes, there are some folks who had problems, different. One is on behalf of a baby. There's different scenarios, and then some of them wanted to remain unnamed for safety considerations.
Of course, and that's perfectly understood. I think one of the issues that not all Americans are clear about, I wanted to discuss a little bit, is that when we're discussing individuals, we've heard the justification that this is not a Muslim travel ban. It's somehow, the logic feels distorted to me, but that it is a travel ban against 7 countries, but it's not religiously based, although there's been talk of preferential treatment for one religion over Muslims and others. So when the individual people are challenging it, you mentioned a religious dimension to it. What is the argument when it comes to religious grounds?
Essentially, for all of us, except for that specific statute I mentioned, which applies to the individuals, I can speak more broadly, and in terms of, because we're an organizational plaintiff, I'd like to be cautious and speak more in terms of all of us as plaintiffs. The religious grounds essentially are under the Establishment Clause. We're saying basically that a certain group has been singled out here based on national origin and in violation also on the First Amendment Establishment Clause grounds, in terms of we've all been lumped in essentially based on one religion, Islam, and saying, because of the concerns that there are, which of course there are valid national security concerns, however, it has been inappropriately and unlawfully applied to all of us, the individuals that we represent as organizations, as well as the individual plaintiffs, whether we are the folks are Muslim or are not Muslim, are secular, are religious, are minority religions. Somehow this has attached something to us in terms of a religion that is essentially discriminating against these folks.
Do you have, I'm asking you to go outside your legal purview here, so you can decline if you like, but do you have any idea why Iran would be named, or for that matter, why any of these countries are named? I'm not aware of acts of terrorism by persons from Iran, or for that matter, the other 6 countries. Is it strictly to, you think, lumping entire groups of people together by nationality, and that nationality's association with Islam?
Yeah, I mean, I would go to say that, what the lawsuit alleges, even outside of legal, as you said, is that this executive order, they allege, administration is saying it needs to be in place to strengthen our national security, and that these 7 countries are a threat in terms of these terrorist acts in general, terrorist acts taking place on U.S. soil. But as all the statistics show, not one of these countries, and in particular, I can speak a bit more specifically with Iran, but I believe it's all of them. Not one of them has had one of these actual acts that we are trying to avoid, these horrendous acts that have occurred on U.S. soil, such as 9/11, Orlando, San Bernardino. Not one of those was carried out by a person, even of descent from a country such as Iran, let alone just having entered.
And again, we're talking with Sarvenaz Nazi Fahimi of the Parse Equality Center. And just so that our audience is clear, this ban applies to anyone with an Iranian passport, or what is the actual category? Since we're talking specifically about Iran, in this case, what is the category of persons that's being banned here? Is it based on passport holder, or is there some other definition?
Well, part of the problem has been that it has been so fluid, it has been so chaotic, and it has just been evolving, and the administration has attempted to clarify who exactly falls under the purview of this executive order. Initially, it went so far as to block green card holders. So people who are permanent legal residents in the United States, who could have been here for years, could be becoming citizen next month, or maybe they're waiting to apply but have the right to, or about to reach their timeline to apply. Those folks were being not allowed to re-enter the country. So we were advising them not to leave, because they couldn't even get back, even though they were legal permanent residents here, living and residing in the United States lawfully. So initially it went to them. Then the administration, as you probably know, clarified that and said, okay, we didn't really mean to do that. And they stuck to the visa holders, which could have been, anyone on a student visa, on a work visa, travel, tourist visa, business visa, could have been anything. So it does apply to those groups. When the ban and the executive order is in effect, and was in effect prior to this latest ruling, it did apply to all of them, and indeed folks who had already been issued those visas even were not allowed to use them. They were not honoring even those that had already passed all levels of scrutiny and had already booked travel or whatnot.
So, okay, well, thank you for that clarification. And what does the Parse Equality Center do?
Okay, sure. So we are a 501c3 nonprofit that was founded in 2010, and we primarily advocate for individuals and families in need with a strong focus on refugees, asylees, and newcomers. And in particular, we have a focus with Iranian Americans and other individuals of Persian-speaking background, and we're trying to help them, become members, contributing members, and of the American society, and self-sufficient in the United States.
So, if I can ask you a slightly different question, if I may, so the community of people who work at your center, with your center, the Iranian American community in general, I would imagine, but I don't want to speak for anyone else, I would imagine that this ban was a painful experience to live through the announcement and then initial enactment of this ban. What are your thoughts?
Yeah. Yes. Again, I apologize. Your voice cut out again. I'm not sure. I keep losing you a couple times, so I didn't hear the entire thing. I think, did you ask me if it was painful for them to
for the community as a whole?
Ban was instated?
Yeah, yes, for the Iranian American community as a whole.
Yes, yes, very much so. It has been absolute chaos. We've had a lot of fear and anxiety. I mean, if I can tell you, you wouldn't believe there's been folks who've been American citizens in our community for years, people who were even born here, and are in their 30s, 40s, whatnot, or have been here for that many years, even if they were not born here, who were educated, who were in fear, who said, I never thought I would become a second-class citizen. I can't even believe this day has come. And we had to calm their fears and anxiety. So you can only imagine for the newcomers who just obtained status, you're in the process of obtaining status or trying to bring family over, you can only imagine the anxiety, disappointment, and fear that they were facing.
Yeah, it's dreadful. It's awful. So what is the status of the federal lawsuit you and the other organizations have filed, and what is your sense of if any, of timeline?
So timeline, and my understanding is that the administration, the government, will need to respond, I believe it's by February 16th, to this motion for a preliminary injunction. And what should happen is the District of Columbia should put a hearing on calendar specifically on that preliminary injunction, we believe, by the end of February.
Okay, well, we'll be tracking it. And we certainly wish you all the best. And Sarvenaz Fahimi, Senior Director of the Legal Department at the Parse Equality Center, thanks for coming on the program.
Thank you so much. I appreciate your support very much.
Absolutely.